The garment bag was still hanging over my shoulder when my sister smiled politely and said, "We don't want you at the wedding. It's a family thing." For a second, I thought she'd mixed up her words. I looked around the bridal boutique. My mother studied the carpet. My aunt suddenly became fascinated by a rack of veils. No one corrected her. I rested the garment bag against the nearest chair. "I understand," I said, and I walked out before anyone had to invent another explanation. The drive home felt strangely quiet. At every red light, my phone lit up with wedding notifications. Seating chart updates. Floral confirmations. A reminder from the photographer about the final timeline meeting. It was almost funny. I wasn't family enough to attend, but I was still the contact person for half the wedding. On my kitchen table sat a blue leather notebook, swollen with months of receipts, contracts, measurements, and handwritten lists. Coffee stains marked the earliest pages. I'd carried it everywhere. My sister used to joke that the notebook knew more about her wedding than she did. She wasn't wrong. People later assumed I acted out of anger. I didn't. I acted out of consistency. If I wasn't part of the wedding, I shouldn't remain responsible for it. I opened my laptop. The photographer had been booked under my name because my credit score qualified for an installment plan. $5,000. I called first. "I need to cancel my contract." The coordinator paused. "Has the event been canceled?" "No. My involvement has." She didn't ask another question. The cancellation policy was exactly what I'd signed months earlier. Next came the gift registry. Nearly every expensive item had been purchased from my account, scheduled for delivery after the ceremony. Refund requested. Confirmation received. Finally, I logged into the shared card we'd opened exclusively for decorations. I had funded it. My sister had permission to use it. I removed my contribution. Then I closed the account according to the agreement both of us had signed. No angry messages, no speeches, just paperwork. By midnight, the blue notebook was closed for the first time in months. At 6:12 the next morning, my phone vibrated, then again, and again. 30 messages. "Why is the photographer canceling?" "The florist says the payment failed." "The decor company won't release anything." "What's happening?" I read every message before replying. "I accepted your decision. These were my arrangements, not yours. Since I'm no longer part of the wedding, I thought it was respectful to step away completely." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, returned, no reply came. By afternoon, my mother called. "You've embarrassed your sister." I stood by my apartment window, watching a delivery driver struggle with a stack of boxes. "I canceled my own contracts." "You knew she'd panic." "I panicked yesterday." Silence settled between us, then she whispered, "She didn't mean it like that." I asked no questions, because I believed her. The truth surfaced in pieces over the next 2 days. My future brother-in-law's parents had wanted a smaller family presence. Old disagreements between branches of the family had made the guest list political. Someone suggested removing me because I was unmarried and would understand. No one asked whether I would. They simply assumed I would continue organizing everything anyway. Reliability had slowly become expectation. Expectation had quietly become entitlement. The photographer called once more. "I wanted to let you know they're trying to reinstate the booking." "They're welcome to." "They can't." "Why?" "The promotional pricing expired months ago." Professional voices rarely sound emotional. That's what makes them so final. Other vendors said much the same. Dates had filled. Prices had changed. Deposits had vanished according to contract. No one punished my sister. Business simply continued. 3 evenings later, she appeared outside my apartment. She looked exhausted, not glamorous, not bridal. Just tired. The blue notebook was lying on my coffee table. Her eyes found it immediately. I forgot how much you were doing. I didn't answer. She picked up the notebook carefully, turning pages filled with my handwriting. Dress alterations, guest allergies, backup transportation, rain plans, emergency contacts. Tiny details no one notices unless they're missing. I thought, she began, then stopped. What? I thought helping made you happy. It did, I smiled faintly. Being invisible didn't. She sat down without asking. I never wanted you gone, but you let it happen. A tear landed on one of the coffee-stained pages. I kept telling myself we'd celebrate together afterward. I nodded. That's how people justify hurting someone they depend on. They promise themselves they'll fix it later. She covered her face. I'm sorry. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't perfect. It sounded expensive, not because of the money, because it had cost her certainty. The wedding wasn't canceled. It became smaller, simpler. Friends stepped in. New vendors were hired within the couple's budget. Some decorations disappeared. The photographs came from a talented local photographer just starting a business. Life adjusted, as it usually does. A month later, my sister invited me to dinner, not to organize anything, not to sign anything, not to pay for anything, just dinner. When I arrived, she handed me the blue notebook. I think this belongs to you. I ran my fingers across its worn cover. Months earlier, it had been a ledger of everything I was willing to give. Now it felt lighter, almost empty. Exactly as it should. Some relationships survive because people keep sacrificing. Others survive only after the sacrifices stop counting as proof of love. That evening, we talked for hours. Not about the wedding, not about the money. For the first time in a long while, we spoke like two siblings instead of one planner and one bride. And when I finally left, I carried only the notebook. Everything else that had weighed so heavily stayed behind.